Hello, hello to all you beautiful souls. Everybody all over the world, all these beautiful angels. Just look at us go. We got this. No matter what. The power right now is amazing. Amazing. Got some Palo Santo here. It's Hollywood from South America. So the power of belief is so strong right now. The father of lies running amok. We have the power to transmute all the negative energy into positivity with the power of our own words and our own mind. We are the power. Yes, we are. And you truly don't even need anything but the power of belief. Your own thoughts, your own words, your own attitude. The power is in us. It really, truly is about the hokey pokey. When you realize that the spirit isn't an outside source. It's an inside job indeed. So we're going to go on to talk about the lie of our imperfection from the voice of knowledge. Ancient toltec wisdom. And there would be a time when the knowledge should return to the people. To heal the healers. To get rid of the facade right in the middle of a masquerade. I might read 2 of these. It depends how we go. I hope everybody's doing fantastic. I love you all so much. This is all connected on YouTube and Twitter, all at the same time. So welcome to anybody that's new, healing with us on this journey. Thank you for letting me be part of your world. And thank you for being a part of mine. The lie of our imperfection, Chapter 3. Childhood memories are recalled. I remember when I was a child, I was so free. It was wonderful to be a child. I remember that I learned to walk before I learned to talk. I was like a little sponge trying to learn everything. But I also remember the way I used to be before I learned to speak. And remember, we're like children. And some people, everybody's at different levels. We're kind of like spoon feeding some that aren't quite there and ready yet. And we welcome all the angels back here in heaven to skip the illusions. As a child, I was completely authentic. I never pretended to be what I am not. My tendency was to play explore. To play, to explore, to be happy. My emotions ruled everything. I only wanted to do what I liked to do, and I tried to avoid what I didn't like. All of my attention was focused on what I was feeling, and I could perceive the emotions coming out of other people. We call it instinct. We can call it instinct if we want to, but it was kind of perception. Some people I would run to because I trusted them. I wouldn't get close to others because I felt uncomfortable. I had many emotions that I couldn't explain because I didn't have words, of course. I remember waking up seeing my mother's face and feeling overwhelmed with a desire to grab her. I didn't know that this emotion was called love. It was completely natural to love. I felt the same way about my toys, about the cat, and the dog too. I remember seeing my father come back from work and running to him and jumping on him with so much joy, with a big and beautiful smile. Completely authentic. I could be naked and I didn't care what people thought. I used to be myself, whatever I was, because I didn't have knowledge. I didn't have a program in my head. I didn't know what I was, and I didn't care to know. Just as a dog doesn't know it's a dog, but it acts like a dog, barks like a dog. Well, my life through my integrity. This was my true nature before I learned to speak. I continued to explore my childhood memories, and I discovered that something happens to all of us. What happens? Well, knowledge happens. I can remember starting to learn words. I learned the names of every object I perceive. I learn a language, which is great. Now I can use words to ask for what I want. Months later, or maybe years later, my mind is mature enough for abstract concepts. With these concepts, something incredible happens. I start to create stories by qualifying everything. What is right or wrong? What I should or shouldn't be? What is good or bad? Beautiful or ugly? I learned from my parents not just what they say, but what they do. I learn what they say not just to me, but what they say about other people. I learn how to interact. I copy everything I see. I see my father, very powerful, with his strong opinions, and I want to be like him. I can hardly wait to grow up to have an opinion of my own. When I finally understand the language, almost everybody begins to tell me what I am. The way I learn about myself is by hearing the opinions of others, of the storytellers around me. My mother creates an image of me based on what she believes I am. She tells me what I am, and I believe her. Then my father tells me what I am, and it's something completely different, but I agree with him too. Of course, each of my brothers and sisters has an opinion of me, and I agree with them. Surely they know more than I do, even though I'm the one who lives in this physical body. None of this makes any sense, but I'm having fun. Then I go to school, and the teacher tells me what I am, which is okay, until she tells me the way I should be, but I am not. I agree, and the problem begins in that moment. I hear the teacher say, "Children, you need to work hard to become somebody, to be a success in life. The world is divided into winners and losers, and you are here to prepare yourself to become a winner. If you work hard, perhaps you'll be a lawyer, a doctor, an engineer." Excuse me, my teacher tells me stories about all the past presidents and what they did when they were children. Of course, all of the heroes are winners. I am a child. I am innocent. I learned the concept of winner. I agree that I should become a winner. And that's it. That agreement is stored into our memories. That quickly. That easily. We let our teachers tell us who to become. We let our parents, the school, the churches. When do we get to decide who we are and what our destiny is? At home, I hear my parents say, Miguel, you have to behave this way to be a good boy. Which means that if I don't behave that way, I am not a good boy. They don't say this, but I understand this. You have to do this, and that to be a good boy. Then you'll get a reward. And if you are not that way, you will be punished. Oops. I'm too small. They're too big. I try to rebel, and I fail. They win. I remember when I used to tell my mom, when I get big and you get little, I'm going to be so mean to you. She told me that I was never going to get big and she was never going to get little. I would never be bigger than her, is what she said. I start pretending to be what I'm not, to avoid the punishment, but also to get the reward. We used to play the quiet game, and whoever was the quietest on the way home or on the way anywhere in the car gets a quarter, especially if you're fighting. Let's play the quiet game. I have to be what they tell me to be, because the reward only goes to the good boys or the good girls. I remember trying so hard to become what they wanted me to be, just to have the reward of their attention. Just to hear them say, Miguel, you're such a good boy. What I don't notice behind all the messages, I hear the silent messages that are never said, but that I can understand. I am not the way I should be. It is not okay to be me. The message is, Miguel, you have to work hard to become somebody. That means right now, I'm a nobody. In a child's mind, the silent message I understand is, I am not good enough. And not just that, I will never be good enough because I'm not perfect. I agree, and in that moment, like most of us, I start searching for perfection. That's how the image of perfection is introduced into our minds. This is when I stop being myself, and I start pretending to be what I'm not. That first lie happens in my first year of school, almost right away. Sitting in that classroom and seeing my first teacher impresses me deeply. The teacher is a grown-up. Whatever she says must be the truth. Just as whatever my father or mother says must be the truth. She is a great teacher who really cares about children. And even though the message I receive is mostly positive, the consequence is a little different. Behind that message is something very subtle. I call it the lie of my imperfection. It is the main lie that I agree to believe about myself. And from that lie, more lies are invented to support it. This is the moment of my fall, when I start to come out of heaven, when my faith in the lie begins to work its magic. Just like a miracle, it starts to take effect all around me. I have to work hard to be good enough for my mother, to be good enough for my father, to be good enough for my older brothers and sisters, to be good enough for my teachers. If he didn't have brothers and sisters, throw some aunts and uncles in there, some cousins, anybody. This is overwhelming, but it's not over yet. I turn on the television, and they also tell me the way I should look, the way I should dress, the way I should be. But I'm not. Television gives me more images of heroes and villains. I see people trying hard to be winners. I see them striving for perfection, wanting to be somebody important, wanting to be what they are not, who we are not. The real drama begins when I'm a teenager, because now it's not only that I'm not good enough for other people, I'm no longer good enough for myself. The result is self-rejection. I try to prove my worth to myself by working hard to get A's in school. I try hard to be the best at sports, the best at playing chess, the best at everything. At first, I do this to try to impress my father and my older brothers. Later, I do this to impress myself. At this point, I'm no longer authentic. I've lost my integrity, my authenticity, because I no longer make decisions based on what is good for me. It is more important now to satisfy other people's points of view. When I change schools from elementary to the next level, I am told, you're not a child anymore. You cannot act like a child. Now you have to behave this way. Over and over, I try to please other people by pretending to be what they want me to be. I start searching for opinions from everybody. How do I look? What do you think of me? Did I do a good job? I'm looking for support, for someone to tell me, Miguel, you are so good. And if I'm with somebody who tells me how good I am, that person can manipulate my life so easily because I need that recognition. I need somebody to tell me that I'm intelligent, that I'm wonderful, that I'm a winner. Can you tell it to yourself? And do you believe it? That you are worthy. I can't stand to be alone with myself. When I'm alone, I see myself as a loser, and my self-judgment is strong because I am not the way I should be according to my story. I judge myself and I find myself guilty. Then I begin to use everything around me as an instrument for self-punishment. I have the tendency to compare myself with other people. Oh, they are better than I am. Well, they are worse. That makes me feel a little better. But then I see myself in the mirror. Ugh, I don't like what I see. I reject myself. Of course, I don't love myself. But I pretend that I love myself. With enough practice, I even begin to believe what I pretend. Later, when I really try to prove myself in society, I become a medical doctor. Does becoming a medical doctor finally make me a winner? No. Oh, no. There are cardiologists, neurologists, surgeons. Then I become a surgeon, but I'm still not good enough according to my story. I have an image of myself that I believe when I'm alone and I project different images around other people, depending on what I want them to believe about me. In trying to project my images, I have to defend these images. I have to become very intelligent just to cover all the lies. I keep pretending to be all those images. And from years and years of practice, I become a great actor. If I have a broken heart, I tell myself, it doesn't hurt. I don't care. I am lying. I am pretending. I could almost win an Academy Award for my performance. What a character. What a drama. And I could say that the drama of my life begins when I agree that I am not good enough. When I hear my teachers, my family, the television tell me, Miguel, you have to be this way. But I am not. I am searching for appreciation, for acceptance, for love, but not knowing that it's just a story. I am searching for perfection, and I find it very interesting how not being perfect becomes the biggest excuse people use to justify their actions. Every time they make a mistake, they needed to defend their image. I hear them saying, well, I'm only human. I'm not perfect. Only God is perfect. Some people go as far as to say the devil made them do it. This also becomes the biggest excuse for every mistake I make. Oh well, nobody's perfect. What a great justification. I've seen people blaming it, everything, all kinds of behaviors on everything under the sun. From Mars to Mercury, they got an excuse for every type of behavior. I go to church, and they show me pictures of saints. This is perfection. But in the faces of saints, I see suffering and pain. Oh, to be perfect. Do I need to be like them? Yes, I'm here to suffer. And if I suffer with patience, maybe when I die, I can receive my reward in heaven. Maybe then I'll be perfect. I used to believe that because I heard it so often, but it's just a story. I had so many superstitions in my head about myself, about everything. Lies that come from thousands of years ago still affect the way we create our own story. What I was told as a child, that's what I was told. Only God is perfect. All of God's creation is perfect, except humans. At the same time, I was told that God put humans at the very top of creation. But how can humans be at the very top of creation when everything is perfect except humans? It didn't make sense to me. After I grew up, I thought about this contradiction. This is not possible. If God is perfect, well, God is the one who creates everything. If I really believe in the perfection of God's creation, then I will think that all of us are perfect, or God is not perfect either. I love and respect all of God's creation. How can I say, God, you have created billions of people, and they are not perfect? For me to say that I am not perfect, or that you are not perfect, is the greatest insult to God from my point of view. If we don't see the perfection It's because our attention is focused on the lie, on the image of perfection that we can never be. And how many of us give up trying to be the image of perfection? But in giving up, we don't go as warriors. We just accept that we are failures, that we will never make it, and we blame everything outside of us. I didn't make it because nobody helped me, because of this or that or whatever. There are hundreds of excuses, but now the self-judgment is even worse than before. When we are still trying to be perfect, the judgment is there, but it's not as bad as when we give up. Then we try to cover our frustration and say, I'm okay. This is the kind of life I want. But we know we have failed, and we can't hide what we believe from ourselves. We can't run from ourselves either. Of course, anytime we try to be what we are not, we fail. It is so difficult to be what we are not, to pretend to be what we are not. It is difficult. I used to pretend that I was very happy and very strong and very important. Wow, living that way is truly a deep hell. It's a setup. It's a no-win situation. You can never be what you are not. And that is the main point. You can only be you. And that's it. And you are right now. And it's effortless. There's no need to justify what we are. There is no need to work hard to become what we are not. It's kind of like we're unlearning, unbecoming who we thought we were. Who society programmed us to believe we needed to be. We just need to return to our integrity, to the way we were before we learned to speak. To enter the kingdom of heaven, we must become like children again. Perfect as little children. We are authentic. When we are hungry, we only want to eat. When we are tired, we just want to rest. Everything we need to know we learned in kindergarten or before. Only the present time is real for us. We don't care about the past, and we aren't worried about the future. We enjoy life. We want to explore and have fun. Nobody teaches us to be that way. We're born that way. We are born in truth, but we grow up believing in lies. This is the whole drama of humanity. The whole problem with storytellers. One of the biggest lies in the story of humanity is the lie of our imperfection. That lie had a big effect in my own life. And though I tell others not to make assumptions, I have to assume that in one way or another, this happens to all of us. Excuse me. Of course, there are differences in this story, but I think the pattern is more or less the same for everyone. Hardly anyone can escape from this setup. I was a perfect little child. I was innocent, and I ate the lie that I am not what I should be. I believed that I would have to work hard to become what I should be. This is how I learned to create my story. And because I had faith in this story became truth for me. And the story, even if it is full of lies, is perfect. It is wonderful and beautiful. The story is not right or wrong, good or bad. It's just a story, that's all. But with awareness, we can change the story. Step by step, we can return to the truth. So I think I'm going to go ahead and read chapter 4, which is A Night in the Desert. I'm very intrigued about the 5 levels of attachment. So we are all just narrators of each one of our stories. And no stories are wrong. And no stories are right. We each have our own gospel. Our own gospel. So mine would be the gospel of Heather and Kayla. The gospel of healing and hope. A Night in the Desert. And yours would be whatever your name is. Whenever you tell your story or write your story, we are the word. We are the power. A night in the desert, and we are perfectly imperfect. An encounter with the infinite. Another opportunity to perceive the truth came along when I was doing my social service as a medical doctor. I was in the little town of Alta Sonora in the Sonoran Desert. It was summer, and the heat was so intense that I couldn't sleep. I decided to leave the clinic and take a walk in the desert. There was a new moon that night, and I could see millions of stars in the sky. Oh, that's a lovely sight. I was alone in the middle of the desert, perceiving so much beauty. I saw eternity, the endless, the infinite in those stars, and I knew without a doubt that the stars were alive. The infinite, our Mother Earth, all of creation is alive. It is one living being. Surely I had seen those stars many times before, but never in that way, from that point of view. My emotional reaction was overwhelming. I felt intense joy mixed with the most exquisite peace in my heart. Then something incredible happened. I had this sensation that I was not alone in the desert. While I was perceiving the immensity of the infinite was perceiving me. All those millions of stars were part of one living being who knows everything and perceives everything. The universe knew that I existed. Then something even more extraordinary happened. My perception shifted, and for a moment, I was the immensity of the stars perceiving the infinite in my physical body. I could see myself in the middle of the desert, so small. I saw that my physical body was made of billions of tiny stars, which I knew were atoms, and they were vast as all the stars in the sky. That night, I knew the infinite inside my physical body is just a continuation of all of the infinite all around me. I am part of that infinite, and so is every object I perceive. There is no difference between any of us, or between us or any object. We are only one because everything is made of light. Light expresses itself in billions of different forms to create the material universe. More than that, I knew that there is only one force that moves and transforms everything. The force that moves the stars is the same force that moves the atoms in my body. I call it life. And light is the messenger or carrier of life because light is sending information all the time to everything in existence. And it was incredible to understand that light is alive. Light is a living being that contains all the wisdom of the universe and occupies every space. And the Trinity of creation is love, sound, light. Nikola Tesla said, if you want to know the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. There is no empty space between the stars, just as there is no empty space between the atoms in my body. The space between the stars is filled with light. It only appears empty when there is no object to reflect the light. Any object we send into space will reflect light because all matter reflects light, just like a mirror. When I looked in my pocket for a little mirror that I always carry with me in my practice, in the mirror, I could see an exact copy of all creation, a virtual reality made by light. In that moment, I knew that my eyes were just like a couple of mirrors. Light projects a virtual reality inside my brain, just the way it projects a virtual reality inside the mirror. It was obvious that everything I perceive is a virtual reality made by images of light. The only difference between my eyes and a mirror is that my eyes have a brain behind them. And with that brain, I have the capacity to analyze, interpret, and describe the virtual reality I perceive at any moment. I co-create with God, with life. God creates what is real, the spirit inside of us. And I create the virtual reality inside my mind. Through light, life sends all of that information into my eyes, and I make a story about what I perceive. The story is how I qualify, justify, and explain what I perceive. If I see a tree, I don't just see the tree. I qualify the tree. I describe the tree. I have an opinion about the tree. I like the tree or I don't like the tree. I may feel that the tree is beautiful or not, but my point of view, my opinion about the tree is a story of my own creation. Once I interpret, qualify, or judge what I perceive, it is no longer real. It is a virtual world. This is what the Toltec called dreaming. Now everything started to make sense in my mind. I finally understood what my mother and my grandfather had tried to teach me for so long about the ancient philosophy of the Toltec. The Toltec believe that humans are living in a dream. The dream is a world of illusion made by images of light, and the mind dreams when the brain is both asleep and awake. Then I remembered the word Toltec means artist of the spirit. In the Toltec tradition, every human is an artist, and the supreme art is the expression of the beauty of our spirit. If we understand this point of view, we can see how wonderful it is to call ourselves artists instead of humans. When we think of ourselves as human, we limit the way we express ourselves in life. We hear, I'm just a human, I'm not perfect. But if we call ourselves artists, where is the limitation? If we call ourselves healers, as artists, we no longer have any limitation. We are creators. just like the one who created us. The toltec believe that the force of life working through us is what really creates the art, and that everyone is an instrument of this force. Every manifestation of the supreme artist becomes an artist. It's self that manifests art through its own manifestations. The art is alive, and it has self-awareness because it comes from life. The creation is ongoing. It is endless. It is happening in every moment, everywhere. Hello, Anita. I hope you're doing well. No, nobody's chatting. We're just having story time, I reckon. I don't know. I'm just reading away. It was amazing how I used to get through videos when there wasn't a chat. If you watched my very first videos when nobody was here and there was a chat and I could just stream live from the computer in my mom's office, 2019. So I've just been reading away. I hope you're doing well. How do we live our life? Hold on, I gotta read this one sentence again. The art is alive, and it has self-awareness because it comes from life. The creation is ongoing. It is endless. It is happening in every moment, everywhere. How do we live our life? This is our art, the art of living. With our power of creation, we express the force of life in everything we say, everything we feel, everything we do. But there are two kinds of artists. The ones who create their story without awareness, and the ones who recover awareness and recreate their story with truth and love. A rebirth, a recreation in our whole new life. Hello, Crafty. Oh, I will see. You have some from Canada? I'll have to check them out. Hello, love. You are dreaming your life in this moment. You perceive not only your dreams, your own dreams, but the dream of the supreme artist reflected in everything you perceive. You react and try to make sense of what you perceive. You try to explain it in your own way, depending on the knowledge stored in the memory of your mind. This is something wonderful from my point of view. You live in the story that you create, and I live in the story that I create. Your story is your reality, a virtual reality that is only true for you, the one who creates it. It's all our own story. It's not good or bad, right or wrong. It just is. It's perfect and it's beautiful. And your way is the right way, as long as it's the hard way. Long ago, somebody said every head is a world, and it's true. You live in your own world. Excuse me. And that world is so private. Nobody knows what you have in your world. Only you know. And sometimes, even you don't know. Sometimes you don't. You ever lose your stuff? Your world is your creation. And it's a masterpiece of art. That night in the Sonoran Desert changed the way I perceive myself and humanity. The way I perceive the entire world. In a moment of inspiration, I saw the infinite, the force of life in action. That force is always present and obvious for anyone to see, but there was no way I could see it with my attention focused on lies. Oh gosh, that's the truth. That force is always present and obvious for anyone to see, but there is no way we can see it with our attention focused on lies. It's all been a pack of lies. What my grandfather had tried to tell me was true. Only perfection exists. It took a long time for me to put that into words. Of course, but I finally understood what he meant when I experienced this truth for myself. I realized that I am perfect because I am inseparable from the infinite, the force of life that creates the stars and the entire universe of light. I am God's creation. I don't need to be what I am not. Made perfect in the image and likeness, right? In the image and likeness. Have I not told you that ye are God's? Right? This was my re-encounter with love, which is how I felt before I denied myself love. I recovered my authenticity, which is how I lived before I learned any lies. In that moment of inspiration, everything made sense to me without thinking at all. I was pure awareness. I was perceiving with my feelings. And if I had tried to use words to explain it, to explain what I felt, the experience would have been over. There's a quote that says the best things in life can only be felt or something like that. Not seen. I believe that all humans have moments of inspiration when we perceive the truth and we say, aha! Those epiphanies, those revelations, when everything just finally makes sense. These moments usually occur when the mind is quiet. When we perceive the force of life through our feelings. Of course, the voices inside our head that we call thinking will invalidate our experience almost right away. These voices will try to justify and deny what we feel. Why? Because when we witness the truth, all of the lies that we believe cannot survive. Humans are afraid of the truth. And when we say that we are afraid, the one who is speaking is a liar. Yes, because the lies that speak through the voice cannot survive the truth, and they don't want to die. That is why it takes such courage to face our own lies, to face what we believe. Shattering of the belief system, the tower, 2020 tower year that carried on into 2021, right? The structure of our knowledge makes us feel safe. Sometimes people cling to beliefs. We have the need to know, even if what we know is not the truth. And if what we believe about ourselves is no longer true, we don't feel safe because we don't know how to be any other way. When we discover that we are not what we believe we are, the foundation of our entire reality begins to collapse. That shit might have been built out of Lincoln logs, not even as sturdy as Legos. Lincoln logs. The whole story loses its meaning, and this is very frightening. Thunderbolts of lightning, very, very frightening. I was not afraid in the desert that night. But when I recovered, I felt fear because nothing in my story was important any longer, and I still had to function in the world. Later, I discovered that I could rewrite this story of my life. I could recover the structure of what I believed and rebuild it without all the lies. Then life went on as it did before, but the lies no longer ruled my life. We can only be said to be alive in those moments when our hearts are conscious of our treasure. Thornton Wilder, the woman of Andros, the storyteller. The storyteller. Let me take a little break for a second. Take a breather. This next chapter's 20 pages. So I don't think I'm going to read it. I had a night in the mountains after my first combo sweat lodge and ayahuasca retreat. And I ventured back to the streets so I could remember what it was like. And I had prayed that all the fear, anything that no longer served my highest good, would be removed. We spoke it in the sweat lodge, starting the east, south, west, north. In the little lodge. And it's amazing to me the things that I encountered in that moment, in the Redwood Mountains, in the dark. But the trees were so tall that there was just like an opening straight into heaven. And in the wilderness, in the dark, it was so cold, and I was searching for a way to make some warmth. And the guy that was up there sleeping in his little storage container home told me not to have a fire because they have fires there and it could burn down the whole place. And I said, I'm not going to burn anything down. So I found a little fire pit. And while I was roaming around in the dark for firewood to have some warmth, I could hear animals, creatures, crackling on the sticks. But I wasn't afraid. I just listened. I was on a mission and I was so connected at that moment to the universe, to the heavens, to the mother, to the animals. Because even animals, especially animals, can sense our fear. Above all else. And I ran into a little tiny fire pit that was used for fires. So I made a little fire. And another little guy, a little homeless man, the people that lived in the wilderness, he come wandering up the mountain and I'm singing some Jesus music. We were off grid, there was no internet, but it was music saved on my phone. He said he hadn't heard no Christian music or worship, anything about Christ up in those mountains for years. And he said, "Oh my goodness, the fire. How wonderful. I'm so cold." And I was like, "Well, come on over here and get warm." And it wasn't dangerous. And the forest didn't burn down. And if you work with the elements wisely and all the things that our wonderful Creator provides for us, and don't lose sight of it in the midst of all the illusions and all the fear, the Mother and the Father always provide. It's pretty miraculous. Pretty miraculous. And that guy all the way in California was actually from the Midwest, 3 hours away from where I'm from. So the chances of two people from the same area ending up needing some warmth in the wilderness in California at the same divine time is just how the universe works and unites all of us beautiful brothers and sisters, superstars. So I think I'm going to go. That was wrapped up in an hour. I'm not going to go way long with that tonight. I'm going to start our little tomorrow. Get back on our track. I think I'm going to read Saturdays and Sunday on Friday now. And then maybe do a card reading on the weekend or something. I got some chakra energy cards coming. I'm realizing just how many people don't have coping skills, lack of belief, lack of faith, lack of power, lack of self-love, lack of trust in self. So what is tomorrow? Solving problems. So I hope everybody has a beautiful night. I thank you all for your likes. I thank you all for tuning in to this special program on this beautiful channel that we have that focuses on self-love and self-healing and returning to the truth about perfection. Going against all the lies and all the illusions like time and death and all those things that we have nothing to fear. So, keep shining, superstars. I love you all so much. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a blessed and beautiful Sunday. I'm going to get some rest and take care of myself.